2 years ago today, my best friend Luke Bawden died, and a few weeks later, I started writing a book about it. My name is JD Slajchert, and I am the author of MoonFlower, a story about the best and the worst things to ever happen to me.
What originally inspired you to write this?
So I lost a great friend of mine to sickle cell disease named Luke Bawden. He was more than my best friend. He was the first person to believe in me. I met Luke when I was a junior in high school, and he was only 6 years old. And the last thing that he told his sister that he wanted to do before he went into a full year of isolation for a bone marrow transplant was meet me and play basketball with me. And that was the moment that everything changed.
What's up, Luke? It's your Oak Park basketball team right here. We just want to send you our thanks for the whole season. You did a great job this year coming to all our games, and a lot of our success this season was attributed to you. And we just wanted to really say thank you, and thank you for everything you've done for us, and we support you, Luke.
Feel better, stay strong, Team Luke.
The day I finally got to meet Luke Bawden, we got together to play some basketball, and he grabbed the ball from me and shoved it right in my face and just said, "Check up." And that's when I knew that no mountain was too tall for Luke Bawden. No matter what I had to do to support him, I would do it, even if that meant going to visit him in the hospital that he'd be staying in for the next year. While he was in the hospital, had two pictures above his bed. He had a picture of me and a picture of Matt Kemp. And that sort of showed me at a very young age how this kid really looked up to me as a hero. Next thing I knew, I got a phone call from my dream school, UCSB, telling me, "Hey JD, we've got a spot for you to come and play basketball here." It was probably the best day of my life and the best news I'd ever heard. So naturally, the first person I wanted to tell was the kid that always believed in me from the very beginning. So I drove down to the hospital and brought my favorite UCSB hat and gave it to Luke and said, "Hey man, you need to get better because you've got 4 more years of watching me play basketball."
After JD watched his friend's health go up and down for 4 years, Luke passed away in 2016 at the age of 10.
Losing Luke Bawden, it just didn't make any sense. Having to watch a 10-year-old full of life, it just didn't make any sense. I didn't know how to cope with that loss, so I started writing. And this journal slowly started to become so much more than that, and started to become a story. And this story was my way of keeping my best friend's memory alive. We ready?
Yep.
2 years ago today, my best friend Luke Bawden died, and a few weeks later, I started writing a book about it. My name is JD Slajchert, and I am the author of MoonFlower. This is the same room, the same chair that I was in when we released the confession video. And it's crazy to be back here now because so much has happened, but I mean, that was our way of telling everybody, my family, my friends, that I just spent the last 2 years writing a book. But once I'd completed the first draft, I actually got in touch with a very close professor of mine that I had as a student here. He was my Writing 1 teacher named Maishi Bernstein. And I knew he would kind of shoot me straight and tell me if I really had something here. You know, if it was just kind of the ramblings of someone going through something, or if it was actually a story. And only when I took it to a professor of mine who I was really close with, did he in fact tell me, he's like, "Hey, this is something that I think could actually help a lot of people." You know, it's a totally different thing to say that you're writing a book than to actually see your name on the cover of one. And all of the speaking events and opportunities to go on TV were mind-blowing, you know, and these are the things you dream about. I mean, I was so excited to finally have the opportunity to tell the story about my best friend. And I'd finally gotten out of that rut, and I was on cloud nine. This is where the front of the house would be and how you'd get into the front of the house. We could see the smoke coming over the hill around 5:36 in the morning.
Just weeks after the novel was published, tragedy struck again. JD and his family lost their Malibu home in the Woolsey fire.
My mom starts crying, and I'm looking at her going, "What's wrong?" And she's pointing and saying, "That's our house on TV right there burning down." And it was devastating.
23-year-old J.D. Slajchert evacuated the home he shares with his mother.
We were in a hotel room, and I woke up to my mom shaking me, saying, "Hey, wake up, that's our house on the news burning down." I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'd worked so hard to get out of that dark place I was in when I lost Luke. I couldn't go back. I couldn't let this horrible tragedy put me back into a situation where I couldn't get out. And I saw an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna take this terrible tragedy and turn it into a positive one, because that's what Luke would have done.
A former UCSB basketball player impacted by the Woolsey fire is giving back to his community in a big way.
This week, the Moonflowers for Malibu movement began. JD says 100% of his book's proceeds will go to benefit those affected by the Woolsey and Hill fires, like his friends, family, and neighbors.
Not everyone has the stability to have another home they can go to or friends that will take them in. So I felt like the best thing I could do was give back to the community that had done so much for me.
A lot of people do want to help. That's the most beautiful thing that can come from these horrible tragedies, is you start to see who the real helpers are. You don't have to be someone who has tons of money or tons of personality to give back to others and help, even if it's just something small. So my hope is that with the platform that I've created, I can hopefully help others and share myself.
So while JD says reading Moonflower can help those dealing with loss, now buying a copy can do the same.
What I didn't realize is, as I was on this journey of trying to educate and tell people the story about how I lost my home, but also the story about Luke Bodden, that people that didn't lose homes were still going through a similar situation. Whether people would tell me about their mother that had died of cancer or their brother that had died in a car accident, from Oakland elementary schools to hospitals in Los Angeles, I met what I like to call all the other Lukes out there in the world. So that's my book.
Yo, we're reading this. We're starting this tonight. Are you down or what?
I know in my heart that it's my job to take the stories of all the other Lukes out there in the world and bring them to light, because there is nobody that can't benefit from this story. I can't tell enough people the story of Luke Bodden and I. I'm here tonight to tell you the story about the little boy that changed my life. A little boy that I just finished writing a book about. My name is J.D. Slajchert. I'm a recent graduate from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Like, honestly, when I first met him, I didn't believe in myself maybe as much as I should have. 2 years ago, Luke lost his battle with sickle cell disease. You guys have no idea the impact you have on people's lives. I knew how important it would be to be there for him after I saw that too. I don't know why people always say, "I'm so mad at you all the time." Why can't we replace the word mad with the word happy and use the same phrase? My little brother, he wants to meet you and play basketball with you. And some of the relationships you make right now are people that you'll have forever. So always give flowers to those you meet, because you never know when you'll get the chance to do that again. And the last thing he ever told me was to smile more. Further commemorate who Luke was. And we get that book. The book is available on Amazon. Yep, and next time he visits, he promised to bring me his book about Tulip Mania. Astonished at Her Drive. Lee Rose Dexter, published author.
How was that, guys? You liked it?
1, 2, 3,
So what's next for JD Slajchert and MoonFlower?